So the question on the floor is, do you hate Dr. Ben Bernanke? It's a very interesting question, and it's one that, for me, wouldn't always have had the same answer. If you would have caught me maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago or around about the time of TARP, then the answer would be yes, I despise the man and everything that he stands for. Um, I thought one of the interesting tells that I found uh, from a economic standpoint was how you had George Bush, a supposed card carrying conservative Republican, um, passing the torch to uh, uh, President Barack Obama, a card carrying progressive, if that is in fact what he truly is. Yet all the key players remained in place on the economics and fiscal policy. um, so Bernanke was kind of remains the figurehead of that particular policy, and to me, I think he remains the figurehead of quite a bit of the progressive and Keynesian economics school. Uh, but do I hate him? No. The more I learned about the person, and this is something that I found interesting, um, when I actually researched the man as an individual, he's a lifetime educator, and he drives a humble car and lives in a humble house. And his core outlook is to educate the public on economy, which, compared to his successor, Alan Greenspan, that's a 180-degree shift in the policies of the Federal Reserve. It used to be a very closed door thing. If you look at the balance sheets from the 1980s for the Federal Reserve as compared to now, um, the the miscellaneous of the 1980s balance sheets were proportionally high. They'd show the legitimate stuff that you expect the Federal Reserve to have, say, treasuries, currencies, things like that. Well, Bernanke's balance sheet is much more itemized and much more detailed. That is the one thing that I can say about these guys that I kind of applaud and salute them for is they, believe it or not, have been quite transparent. Now, uh, people people criticize them based on the information that they gather from the transparencies, but if it would have been Greenspan in office, you never would have even had that chance. What information did you get out of Greenspan? The size of his assistant's briefcase? you know, Bernanke sits down there in front of a microphone and says, "Yes, we are buying toxic mortgage-backed security assets because the insurance market and the bond market will suffer greatly if we don't do so." I mean, that's a big difference. So let me just be clear now. I personally believe that we need to use much more caution whenever we deal with currency. I don't trust the numbers and the data that um, that come out that they're following. The consumer price index. I believe that sometimes consumer price index as well as unemployment index, those numbers. Um, I'm very concerned with how they use that information to figure out how much money they need to have in the system. I don't see necessarily that they were printing money out of thin air. I never bought that information. I believe that they were in a situation where they needed to produce liquidity that had already been produced either unintentionally or as a side effect of all of the bonds and the securities that were on the market. So whenever these toxic uh, bond securities were absorbed They needed to be replaced with liquidity. So the money wasn't being printed out of thin air. Now that's how I saw it. So naturally, whenever I saw one of the talking heads, I'm not going to name any names, but she quit her job as governor of Alaska. Um, Sarah Palin. Whenever she says, "Oh, printing money out of thin air," and I have a different point of view and a different perspective, and I've done what appears to be more research than she does, obviously that is a faulty perspective. So, that being said, do I hate Ben Bernanke? Um, Not on a personal level. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's good that he wants to educate. I think it's good that he calls for the average person to say, "Listen, look into this stuff." And I think it's very different than what the things you hear our current president, as I'm recording this, say. Where, um, if anything, Obama has said a lot more scary stuff than Ben Bernanke has. Uh, he says, well, the average American citizen, their job is to go to work and to leave these bigger concerns to us. And I don't know about you, but whenever I see a government guy saying something like that, my stomach turns. I mean, maybe he doesn't mean it the way that I think he means it, but no, it is my business what you do. You know, it is. And no, I'm not so stupid that I need to leave it to somebody that's smarter than me. No. Uh-uh. All right. So I managed to, yes, answer the question and not answer the question. Oh, and by the way, this is a video response to Josh Galt. See y'all later.